In this video, you're going to learn how to plan the end of your project during commissioning and startup to achieve your project in service date on time and on budget. Most people leave this to the end of their project and they think there is time to figure it out later, but this is not the case for over 90% of projects. I'll show you how to plan to complete your project using industry best tools and processes being used by all successful projects. Let's move to step 1, which is defining your completions in contracts. In this step, you will learn how to create the most effective milestones for EPC completions with all the details to define physical asset requirements, documentation deliverables, and associated payment milestones that you need. The problem is that most project teams think this can be defined only once more information is available later in their project. And when this is missed in contracts, it leads to disputes with costly change orders or contractor claims to establish the missing contract details, with project delays while everyone tries to figure out the details. So here's what you need to do. Even before contracts are awarded, commissioning frameworks need to be included in contracts. This doesn't mean that every checklist and procedure needs to be available, but very specific milestones and commissioning team roles and responsibilities need to be clearly defined for what defines completion of construction and what constitutes the start of commissioning. This is a critical milestone to define technically and commercially to ensure all parties understand the goalposts to achieve and how the roles and responsibilities transition at this time. With this important milestone vaguely defined in contracts, which is the typical situation, construction and commissioning get blended together and neither group understands how to make this transition on projects, and you do not get what you need from your EPC contract. Let's move on to step number 2, which is defining your off-site testing requirements. In this step, you will learn how to ensure equipment procurement contracts correctly define the first stages of testing in the commissioning sequence to ensure fully functional equipment arrives at site. Procurement contracts require more than just determining the price and delivery date. For lots of equipment, there are specific aspects to verify in the factory before being shipped to site. The problem is, when these details are not included in procurement contracts or not properly specified to EPC contractors who are responsible for procurement, testing gets missed. And to get testing added to procurement contracts after they are awarded is expensive. The price is evaluated and invariably someone makes a decision to not incur the expense and to defer testing to site. This defers all the risk of issues being identified later during critical path on-site testing, costing even more than the procurement change order would have been. All of this can be avoided by properly defining factory test requirements in the original equipment procurement contracts, saving projects significant time and money. Let's move on to step number 3, which is defining your transition from construction to commissioning. This is referred to as mechanical completion or static completion and is often the most challenging aspect of projects. Completing installations by system or subsystem will not go well if this transition is not thoroughly defined in advance so that defect-free subsystems can proceed with the next stages of testing without delay. There are lots of big and small details to complete, and all items, no matter the size, constitute a part of the subsystem. It's easy to miss details that cause snags during commissioning. The problem is, many projects are still using paper and spreadsheets to manage all these details, which is an easy way for things to get missed. And when even the smallest detail is missed, it causes delays to critical path completion of your project. When there are many things missed, the delays compound, and it is a scramble at the end of your project to get everything completed. There are much better tools and processes to implement to help manage construction completions and commissioning to ensure nothing gets missed, and that everyone on your project team can understand what is required to achieve this critical milestone for each subsystem. Let's move on to step number 4, which is executing the required stages of pre-commissioning and commissioning. There are lots of smart commissioning experts working on projects, but they will not be able to do their work without a proper project management structure around all their activities. All stages of commissioning need to be defined in advance, defining what tests take place during each stage, when each test is required within the established sequence, and all supporting documentation and software tools available showing everyone the process to follow. Your gated commissioning process defines the milestones to achieve, all the details required at each gate, and the sign-offs that are required to pass to the next stage of testing. Without this structured gated commissioning process, project teams struggle to know what is required, when it is required, and end up missing details that hold up the completion of your project. The last step is step 5, which is completing commissioning and handing over your project to operating teams. Commissioning is an extremely fast-paced time on projects and very demanding on everyone's time. You need robust systems and processes to manage this phase of projects so that you are able to hand over reliable systems to plant operators. Despite everyone's best efforts, there will be deficiencies identified during testing, and you need tools and processes that can adapt to these changes, track all the items, and make sure everything is complete without delaying the work. When you get to the end of the project, you need to have confidence in the product you are delivering so that operations can get the best value from new assets. Without a robust plan to get through this very demanding phase of projects, project teams quickly fall behind, get lost in all the details, with delays and cost overruns that result. This can be avoided when commissioning is properly planned for in advance, as I have outlined in each of these steps. If your projects struggle with any of the things I have discussed, don't worry. We've helped over 100 project teams fix these problems with our products and services. Contact us at the link below to see if we can help your projects too.